Look at Nicolas Maduro. The exit polls literally show 65% to 30-something% against him. And this sick weirdo is trying to claim that he won the election. And guess what they did? They learned something from the Democratic left of America. They covered up the windows in the counting rooms. Gee, where did we ever see that one before?
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest, he's in for a rough ride with me because Arizona is still falling apart. Still got crazy stuff going on in Arizona. Maricopa County, nobody's ever been arrested. Actually, when I wake up in the morning and I see Venezuelan people, they're shooting and they're grabbing ballots, they're running down the street. I'm like, well, at least those guys are doing something about their election one way or the other. That's not what's been happening in Arizona. They just go on the news and say, Joe Biden's your president. And everybody's like, oh, okay, thanks. And then crazy, but true. Has anything been fixed in Arizona? He's wallowing in it. He has a firsthand perspective on what's happening in Arizona. His name is Josh Bernstein. And we have literally, I don't know how many hours we've spent together talking about the corruption in Arizona. But you know what? Arizona is just a shiny coin in a big bag of coins known as the corrupt United States of America. The corruption, the communism, Arizona being that shiny coin in a big bag of coins. All right, so they're not isolated. But Josh Bernstein in Arizona, he's an author now too. He has a book. We'll be talking about that book. But he's a talk show host, an author, an investigative journalist, a news anchor, a speaker, political commentator, hellraiser extraordinaire, always trying to do his darndest to bring wild, mad attention to the corruption in Arizona. He's not just holding bake sales out there in response to a CIA coup, of course. He's doing his absolute darndest as he can. He says that he's one of America's most censored media figures in conservative media today. He's been banned from every major big tech platform for speaking too much truth. And Josh Bernstein, welcome back to, this is the Santilli Report on LFA. Brand new audience. Say hello to our LFA family, LFA TV. This is, by the way, this is the best lineup, the best network in independent media. I would say it's an amazing network. Jeremy Harrell has been leading it, but welcome to LFA TV, sir.
Great to be back on the program with you.
All right.
What is not going on in Arizona?
What is not going on? Isn't that true? It's just Arizona's corruption that we see. It's just a shiny coin in a big bag of coins. It's not that Arizona is the only corrupt state. Every state has its level of corruption, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Georgia still has its issues. New Hampshire still has its issues. Of course, in Michigan, basically the rhinos gave up all their power, which is kind of a good thing, I guess. But these radical extremist Democrats took over in Michigan. Pennsylvania is really not that much better either. There have been some things that have happened in Arizona and elsewhere. I believe 28 states have now banned the CTCL, which is basically the Zuckerbucks, if you will, including Arizona. We're going to work on a campaign out here to watch the drop boxes. And actually what we want to do, and I want to encourage everybody watching in the 7 important swing states of Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, New Hampshire, and Nevada. Those are the 7 states. That's the 93 electoral votes that count the most, really. I want to encourage you to contact your local police department and ask them point blank, what is it exactly that you are doing to secure the elections, and in particular, the drop boxes? They have a legal responsibility and duty to stand guard on these drop boxes. There is nothing unconstitutional about that. There is no intimidation or anything like that. Now, if patriots do it and we show up armed to do it, then yes, we can be in trouble for that. But if we can encourage the police to actually step up and do their job, then we can secure these drop boxes. And we need to have teams of these people, so we don't have these 3 o'clock in the morning drop-offs and things like that. We've got to really button things up. So that's one thing that we're working on.
All right. So, Josh, you know what I just found out? That union members, are now reporting that they're shagging ballots on behalf of the union, their friends and family members, essentially illegally. So a union member, Teamster member, out of what is that background noise? Is that you? This is just
no. Everything sounds good now.
Okay, good. All right. So guess what I thought about when I heard about this? That there's information about union members reporting that they're illegally, grabbing ballots. And guess what I thought about? Who do we go to? The Republicans? Who do we tell? Josh? Hate to be cynical, but I think I can do that with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Look, I understand what you're saying. Look, I mean, if the Trump campaign thinks that they're going to outvote the steal without stopping the steal, they're not going to win. Because the bottom line is these people are not going to go quietly into thy good night. They're going to do whatever they can as communists to try to stay in power. Look at Nicolas Maduro. The exit polls literally show 65% to 30-something% against him. And this sick weirdo is trying to claim that he won the election. And guess what they did? They learned something from the Democratic left of America. They covered up the windows in the counting rooms. Gee, where did we ever see that one before?
You know what they didn't do? There was a guy that took a selfie inside the election center.
Yes.
And it just so happened that on all the screens, it showed that Maduro was behind dramatically. But of course, they go to the podium, they read their statement, by the order vested in me, the Grand Poobah in charge of election theft. This is crazy. And then, of course, we get Kamala Harris piling on saying that the people have spoken. Here we go. We're headed right for this is a communist, full-blown communist overthrow. You got Joe Biden today saying he's going to take over the Supreme Court. They're going to take over the DOJ, the FBI, the elections. Seriously, at what point do we say this is a communist overthrow? When do we say it?
Yeah. We've been saying it since 2020. I mean, let's face it. November 3rd was the coup, right? January 6th was the cover-up of that coup. So clearly, that's when it all started. And what have we done for 4 years? We've sat back and watched it get worse and worse and worse. Well, if they steal it in this next election, I have a feeling the American people are going to look for other ways to have their voices heard. They're going to have to.
I want you to. I'm going to make a comment, and you tell me if you agree. I know a lot of Blue Dog Democrats. We all do. We have them in our family. And those Blue Dog Democrats for 50 years have liked Joe Biden. Everybody has. Just good old Joe Biden. And then this thing where they forced him out, Obama, Seymour Hersh just reported it. His source said that Obama just ran a coup and then brought Kamala Harris up. I don't know of one Blue Dog Democrat in my family or anybody that I know outside of my family that thinks that Kamala Harris is what they want their party to be. She's a straight-up communist. What just happened is worse than having an Alzheimer's patient in the seat.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you know what the real true difference between someone like Heels Up Headboard Harris, as I call her on my show, and Bernie Sanders is the fact that Bernie Sanders will admit that he's a communist. Mm-hmm. She won't. That's truly the difference. But here's the thing. She is an opposition researcher's wet dream. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
There is so much to attack her on. I mean, from 18 to 24-year-olds, she literally said, you guys are stupid. That's why we put you in dormitories. So, I mean, there's that. Of course, how many black people? She's put more black people in prison than street gangs, okay? And so because of that, there's a lot there as well. But we've got to make sure that this information gets out. One of the main differences, and I'm not saying that Twitter and Elon Musk are conservative and the platform is conservative, but one of the main differences between 2020 and 2024 is that in 2020, we had nothing, right? Twitter was not there. Facebook was not there. YouTube, Instagram, nothing. We didn't have anything. We didn't have Truth Social, Getter, nothing. This time we have Twitter to be right there in the middle of it all. And of course we have Truth Social, Getter, and some of these other ones as well. And so that is going to be a difference, not to mention hopefully a very robust middle. Because if RFK Jr. does really, really well in some of these swing states, then he can do what Jill Stein did for President Trump in 2016 for Trump in 2024.
Yeah, Jill Stein. Okay, I'm gonna throw a theory out at you, and just tell me your thoughts. Because, Josh, I don't even have to have a pre-discussion with you. I mean, you're smart to the conspiracy theories that are plausible because we connect dots, and then they become conspiracy facts, right? Because we're outsiders to their devious plots and plans. What is your thought about them using Kamala Harris as a temporary, because of what I heard with Seymour Hersh, Obama needed somebody internally that was going to be able to overthrow Biden, threaten the 25th Amendment, right? He didn't have that on the outside. I'm going to talk about the outsider, but he didn't have that. He needed Kamala Harris to get that done. So maybe he offered up, the candidacy, right? He offered that up. So she's a placeholder. What are your thoughts about Michelle Obama stepping up to save us from because there's some violence coming in Chicago? What are your thoughts about the potential for Michelle Obama replacing Kamala Harris, who right now there's 100,000 Chicagoans, 100,000 that are planning to wear red MAGA hats to show up to the DNC? I swear. They're literally talking about it on the ground. They cannot get anybody in the hood to do security that they normally do because they're revolting against the Democrat Party. So 100,000 MAGA hats are going to descend on in the Central Square in Chicago to make a spectacle. So violence will come. We already know this because we'll put that down. And then they say, "Oh, sorry, Kamala Harris, you're not going to be the nominee because we got to bring priests. Here's Goonie Goo Goo,"
Well, I don't know. That's a lot of people have talked about that as well. I don't know. I mean, if you look at, first off, they didn't do the 25th Amendment. If they would have done the 25th Amendment, then I would shoot that down immediately because the only person that could take over would be Heels Up Headboard Harris, but they didn't do the 25th Amendment. And so now what happens? Well, basically you could go to an open convention, and an open convention, pretty much anything can happen. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I would assume that they're going to keep her at the top of the ticket, and they're going to put either a Mark Kelly or Shapiro or somebody like that. Here's the thing. I'm hoping that they pick Shapiro. And people might be thinking, well, why would you want the governor of Pennsylvania who has all that clout and everything else? The bottom line is he's Jewish, just like myself. And if he's Jewish, it's possible that the radical extreme left-wing base, the Antifas and all that, maybe they'll either stay home or they'll have even more issues with the fact that a Jew is on the back end of the ticket. So seeing the word Shapiro could actually work in President Trump's favor. And I said this on my show, and I said this on about 3 other different shows. I'll take a little extra anti-Semitism if it puts Trump back in the White House.
Oh, well, I'll take some anti-Semitism. She is anti-Semitic through and through.
Oh, she's disgusting.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, what did you think of? First of all, and you said we're all Americans, but you are concerned about what's going on in Israel. You just said I'm a Jew, and a name like Bernstein and Santilli, we get along famously. By the way, what's the difference between Italians and Jews?
Well, typically the Italian mobsters have Jewish lawyers.
No,
right?
It's the food.
The food. That is true. You ever seen Maniscalco? He goes, you ought to let the Italians cater the meal. He goes, oh, the food, it's terrible. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Our Italian family, yes, we have a Jewish lawyer. We won't mention his name, but He's a good one. But anyways,
Gotcha.
What were your thoughts of the administration's treatment of Netanyahu when he came?
Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, look, you have all these people. I love what he said. These people that gays for Hamas or whatever is like chickens for Colonel Sanders. So, I mean, he pointed out the obvious. I thought it was an amazing speech. I thought he did a great job. It shows his resilience. What happened just now, in the Golan Heights area with the soccer players and the little kids. I mean, they literally shot one of these rockets directly at these kids.
At the playground.
They exploded these kids into little pieces.
It's a playground,
so disgusting.
Too. Yeah. They specifically targeted children. It was a playground. It was a soccer field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, soccer
that's
field.
Exactly what it was.
How do you think Israel's going to respond?
Well, they already have. They've killed over 540 Hezbollah fighters already. I think you're going to see a huge increase in war capacity in the area. They're probably going to go into Beirut, Lebanon, and probably clear out that rat's nest. So we'll see what happens. I know people are worried about an escalation and things like that, but for the most part, I don't think too many people are going to want to mess with Israel. And make no mistake about it, every single one of those rockets that are shot by Hezbollah are Iranian-made rockets. So this is a proxy war with, of course, the largest state sponsor of terrorism of the world.
Absolute disgusting provocation. You hit the children like that, you know that you're going to get a response. You're going to get a response. So that's what they want. I think it's unfortunate, but I say my side, the side that I'm on, is Genesis 12:3. You know what it says, right?
Not offhand.
Those who bless Israel will be blessed, right? Those who bless Israel will be blessed. I stand for protecting the Holy Land. I know there's a lot of political stuff going on there. I don't pay attention to that. They want that Holy Land of Israel, and they want it wiped off the face of the map. And This is biblical. But sir, let's in our limited time we have, I want you to comment. I'm glad you wanted to talk about the Satanic Olympics. I spent the better part of the entire show this morning talking about that, the Satanic Olympics. It is all of this stuff that we see coming with this globalism. These are very, very sick people. The sexual perversion, the deviancy, all the way up to, the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church dancing with the cross-dressing, drag queens.
You never would have thought in a million years that you would see this in your lifetime. That's how sick this is. I mean, the Olympics is basically unwatchable. I mean, I'm not rooting against America, but I'm not rooting for America. I'm just not interested in it at all. And I think millions of Americans feel the exact same way that I do. And I think it's absolutely just atrocious what they did to the Last Supper. I mean, with drag queens, let's not forget, that's not just Christianity. It's also a Seder. So it's also, nasty against Jewish people as well. But the whole thing, I mean, they don't have enough food. They're eating raw meat. There's cockroaches in the rooms. I mean, you name it. It's like there's all kinds of crazy things that are going on. I'm hearing that the athletes are actually ditching the mess hall, if you will, and going out to local restaurants so they can eat and get carbohydrates and fuel for their events. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Why? What are they being served?
They're being served raw meat, from what I'm hearing, literally uncooked meat. And they don't have fruit, and they don't have certain vegetables, and they don't have certain things that they need for their dietary needs in order to keep their strength up so that they can compete. I've also heard it's almost a 2-hour trip from Olympic Park to where they're staying because of traffic and everything else. It's just a disaster. It just goes to show you, when globalists and leftists take over anything, it's going to be a disaster.
As President Trump says,
cities of America,
as he always says, anything they touch turns to what? Merda.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it certainly does.
If
all
you
right.
have a minute, I'd like to discuss the book just real quick.
Yeah, no, you're going to talk about that. Hold on one second. I want you to comment on. I've been digging pretty deep, listening to the hearings, looking at all of. like the timeline and all that's this circus act between, oh, we weren't in direct. There's no such thing, by the way, as having to be, and I happen to have a little bit of knowledge about this. I won't spin off on a tangent, but I do. I used to handle all of the outdoor venues in Southern California, the Coliseum. I mean, every single stadium for major rock concerts and festivals, security. Mm-hmm. And our command post would have, you'd have law enforcement right there with you, representative of law enforcement. You'd have 4 or 5 radios at the command post. And they wouldn't allow us to broadcast over and communicate with law enforcement, but our command post would relay it instantly, right there, instantaneously. So at the command post, they have a Secret Service representative, they got local law enforcement, and they're relaying that stuff. There's no such thing as not being able to crosstalk across those radios.
Right.
Because sometimes in an emergency, they'll key both. You know what I mean? Like they'll have, incoming traffic and just key law enforcement, like to save some time or interpretation. So they're saying, oh, we weren't able to communicate with them. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit that they're trying to tell us about what was going on. And I also studied where the shots came from, the angle by which the shots came in. Did you hear about the open windows where the snipers were?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Did you see all of that?
Yeah, I did. Look, the bottom line is, have you ever noticed, by the way, that no one on the left now is calling for gun control because they tried to kill a Republican presidential candidate and former president, right? No one's saying anything about gun control right now because it almost worked for them. Look, the bottom line, I've said this on so many different shows. They allowed the shot to get off. That's really all you have to know. They allowed the shot to get off. They could have stopped it. They notified this kid hours beforehand. They saw him flying drones. They saw him, going all around the area, range finders and everything else. And you mean to tell me, what, are they not using walkie-talkies anymore? Is it only through text message? OMG? LOL? Like, seriously, is that what we're doing now for the Secret Service? And then, of course, they brought in the ponytail brigade, right? So, again, I believe this was a 100%. 100%. And by the way, I'm the only one that I know of that is selling those shirts, so you can get them on the website. But it doesn't make any sense. Corey Mills, former sniper, said there needs to be an investigation into the fact that this was a setup. You obviously had Dan Bongino getting real close to saying those words, but he's afraid of his corporate sponsors. You had, of course, Eli Crane, the congressman in Arizona, went up on the roof and said, hey, none of this makes any sense. So there's already been a lot of people that have come out and said, hey, none of this is jiving. None of this makes sense. And really, the Butler Police Department didn't have on their body cameras and all that? Really? Come on. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it looks like this kid was possibly a patsy. And he was a patsy for the regime and the Secret Service, just as Oswald was a patsy for the JFK assassination. And then, of course, Jack Ruby silenced him. So I think they were going to take this kid out regardless of whether he was successful or not. And there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye.
Oh, there certainly is. Did you hear about that guy in Arizona? I think he was misidentified. Poor guy. Eric, I think his name is. He's got an FFL license, and somebody from YouTube showed up at his house. Did you hear about that?
No, what was his name?
Supposedly connected. The last guy's, the last name of the person that had the white van, his name was Yerrick, but it was Maxwell Yerrick. There's a guy in Arizona named Tanner Yerrick, and I guess they're supposedly not related, but the poor guy's being hunted down. But
I remember when it first came out, there was some Italian on Facebook or something that they were saying,
that's who.
And he was going pow 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 or something. But
you know, here's the bottom line. You know that it's an inside. Stand up and show your shirt. Show your shirt. It was an inside job, ladies and gentlemen. You know it's an inside job when you get the intel services flooding the internet with bogus information. How many bogus reports have you seen as to who the shooter was?
So many of them.
Right?
So many of them. I mean, from the fact that they likely maybe even planted, explosives on them and things like that. Nothing adds up. Nothing adds up, and we're not stupid. So we're not going to just sit back and accept the official narrative of the corrupt, illegitimate government.
Yes, sir. All right. Now, I really was looking forward to talking to you about this. As a matter of fact, I need to order my hardcover right now. Let me do that.
Please do.
I don't want to.
Please do.
I'm going
God
to
bless
order
you.
the hardcover. I want to support your efforts, but right now, I'm going to read the title of your book, Preserving Liberty, Bold and Brave Solutions to Save America and Create Permanent Freedom, right? Restore voter integrity and confidence. I've spoken with you. You've talked about, plans to restore voter integrity in Arizona. Now, for how many years? Can you imagine? It's been years, Josh.
It's been years.
Oh, for years.
We've been at this for a long time.
All right. When I open this book up, what am I going to get? What is my main takeaway? And you know who I am. I'm just an impatient. I want a plan. I want something to
I wrote this book with the intention of giving the reader numerous audible gasps. I want people to go, oh, did I just read that correctly? And then I want you to grab your glasses if you're older, put them back on and read it again and say, oh my God, that's exactly what it says. I go through everything. I go through, of course, election integrity, how to pay off $9 trillion of our national debt. I go after China. I expose Timu. I expose PRC. I expose Fauci. There's a section called Beagles, Monkeys, and Orphans, Oh My. And I go through all the different funding and all the different murder that he created and killed those poor black orphans in 2004 in Centennial Hospital in New York City, New York. I go through it all. I really, truly do. And the election integrity part in particular, one of the things that I come up with is changing the way that we vote based on the electorate not being based on the states, but rather based on those 3,142 counties, in which about 145 counties is 50% of the U.S. population. So imagine that. That's like 5%. So that means that 5% of the entire country makes the decisions for the other 95%. And that's a representative government? I don't think so. And so in my book, I go after that. I explain ways that we can change that. And I absolutely destroy and go after the administrative state as well. So it's chock full of a lot of information. Roger Stone, best-selling author, has endorsed it. Dershowitz has endorsed it. The foreword is done by Congressman Paul Gosar, so there's some big names already attached to
nice.
it.
Did you get Congressman Gosar to do it? Wow,
I
that's
did.
great.
He's a wonderful man. He's a great patriot. And, there's 10 legislative ideas in this book and another 30 additional solutions on how to preserve our liberty. So this is my life's work, kind of put all into 192 pages. I'm really, really proud of it, and I hope that it does really, really well.
Okay, now I ordered the hardcover, but right now, can't I get a download of the Kindle? Because I ordered the Kindle.
You can get Kindle and the hardcover. Everyone's asking me, are you going to be able to have an audio version? And my answer is, gosh, I hope so. We've got to sell a lot of books in order to do that, because if we do sell enough books on pre-order, and again, folks, you can go to Amazon and just type in Preserving Liberty book, and you'll find it immediately. You'll find my ugly mug looking at you like this. Mm-hmm. And you can pre-order the book, because pre-orders really, really help, especially on Amazon, because it changes the algorithm and it allows more independent book distributors to pick up the book to resell the book as well. So that really helps when you pre-order the book.
And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to highlight, because he glossed over it. He doesn't like to talk about it, but he said ugly mug, but also his bald head is prominently displayed in the front of the book. He's bald, and it's there. Josh, I consider you to be a friend, so I can goof off with you.
Yeah,
like that.
You're good.
I want to support your efforts. I hope your book does well.
By the way, Pete, you're actually thanked in it by name in the book, just so you know.
Really?
Yes, you are.
Wow.
That's correct.
Wow, I'm honored.
Yes, you are. You're part of one of my all-stars list.
Wow.
Of people.
Thank you.
That have been there for me.
I'm honored. What did you thank me for, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, you're basically for helping me out when I was so censored the most.
Oh, wow.
Instead of abandoning me, you gave me even more publicity and more opportunities to be on your show.
Absolutely.
And I'm extremely thankful and grateful for that. And our friendship, of course.
And we have to do that. Interesting. I want to conclude our conversation in this regard in the remaining. It's a 1 hour show, so it's power packed. I think there's been some harm, and I like that X is opened up to bring us all back into the public square. Because although we've had platforms, there's been that separation where you're playing handball over at Rumble with no opponent. You're in an echo chamber. I think it has done a lot of harm that we won't recognize for a while down the road. But thankfully, we had platforms like Rumble, Shoot Social, Gab. A lot of them sprouted up, but that separated us. A lot of fragmentation, and I'm glad that X has opened back up. But what are your primary platforms right now where people can find you? You can give out your website, but what are your where can I tune into the Josh Bernstein?
JBUshow.com for the most part, and then of course I've been working on trying to get pre-orders for the book. But the best place if you want to support me, 100%, you can pre-order the book and become a subscriber at the website at jbushow.com. So.
How long? Remember, you got COVID for a while there. You got pretty sick.
Yeah, 2021, I think it was.
2021.
Around there. Yeah, I was
have you fully recovered from that?
13 days.
Or have you suffered?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I used ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and I did the Zelenko protocol as far as, quercetin, vitamin C, D3, K2, iron, zinc, the whole bit. So, yeah. So I'm thankful that I didn't have any issues with that. I got it in quick enough.
Thank God. Thank God.
You can get access to stuff quick.
Josh, do me a favor. You have an open line to Ashley. All right.
Yes.
Get booked on a more regular basis. I don't want too much time to pass, especially as we approach. It's going to be exciting. Is not the word. It's going to be a very dangerous period between now and Election Day. Every day that tips away. So come back on whenever you wish, whenever you got something hot to talk about. I want to have that conversation in front of our listening audience, all right?
You got it.
Yep.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Josh.
God bless.
All right, God bless you too.
Hey, Josh Bernstein here, America's favorite bald badass. Did you know that Bill O'Reilly charges $6.95 a month to see his content? Or how about the Blaze TV, who charges $10 a month? Or you could always subscribe to the Ben Shapiro podcast at $12 a month. But if you are looking for the best value and the most hardest hitting news, you've come to the right spot. Because here at JoshBernsteinUncensored.com, we drop the most jaw-dropping stories 7 days a week, starting at only $3 a month. So please head on over to the new releases tab, become an exclusive member of the Badass Nation, and join the fight to save this country with one of America's most hated, feared, and censored conservative voices. Remember, if it's banned on social media, you'll find it here. God bless.